Hello and welcome to episode number 5 of De Huda, De Strange and De Jugsy. Yes, finally, I got the name of our podcast right. Today, we've got a brilliant Dream Team guest, but Ava sadly isn't available. We'll go into that in a moment. It's me, Dan Strange. It's Sarah Juggins as ever. Sarah, you've got news on where Ava is, I believe.
Well, I've actually worked this out for myself. Ava de Good, the whole name, I always thought meant Ava the Good. I think it actually means evade, good evader, because Ava, as we know, incredibly competitive, wants to win. The only thing that's going to stop her is being docked points, and that's why she's not in the programme. I've come to that conclusion. She says she's very busy coaching in Stellenbosch. I think she's evading being docked points.
Do you think she doesn't think we'll dock enough points to make her lose? Do you think she thinks we're soft on this?
I think exactly that. And I think she's worried that she'll come on the show and say things that will actually get her docked extra points. So I think she's playing this I mean, it's the Dutch. She's playing a very cool, very long game where she's just gradually accruing points through some actually very, very good predictions and avoiding losing by saying the wrong thing.
Now, our dream team guest today and the dream team have been flying up our leaderboard, so she's under a bit of pressure. Is Ellie Rayer, Great Britain and England player, East Grinstead player, of course, went to the last Olympic Games, bronze medalist from the last Olympic Games. Ellie, it is brilliant to have you on. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm doing okay, thank you. Tricky times at the moment, but yeah, enjoying it and looking forward to being on here.
And of course, you say tricky times. You missed selection for the Olympics, which we know will be tough. Have you been tuning into any of the games at all, or has your way been switching off from everything?
Um, Initially I thought I was going to switch off from everything, but as Olympic fever takes over, you can't, which to be fair has been quite nice in the sense that when you're a kid, you love the Olympics. I've grown up loving the Olympics, and just because I've not been selected, don't want to lose that almost. So I've definitely been tuning in. I'm probably Team GB's biggest fan, but I've not really been watching the hockey as much because yeah, that's a little bit more painful to watch. But getting on board behind all the other sports and kayak cross, that's my new favourite.
With the jump for the start as they drop off the edge.
It's mental.
You would have played against Ava de Huda in
Yeah,
your career.
yeah.
What we speak about her being the biggest competitor, and I love talking about people when they're not here. And we had this with Kelly Hudson. We tried to get Kelly to dock points off Ava, and she wasn't here to defend herself. Sadly, that stopped her getting dock points. But what is that? What was Ava like as a competitor to play against, sort of up close?
Pretty special. She's just a phenomenal player. I think she kind of would pick the team up and take them along with her. Just class and calm and in the middle of the pitch. And yeah, to do that when Dutch hockey, they sort of have dominated for many years and sort of been at the forefront of that, I think shows the caliber of player. So yeah.
You say you've been watching other sports, Ellie, as well, and I sort of watch other sports, but with a hockey brain as well. And you talk about Ava's calmness. Do you think that's fairly symptomatic of the best sports people across all sports? You know, this ability to actually elevate yourself above the excitement, above the sort of the nitty gritty, and take a calmer, almost slowing things down because you are so good at what you do.
Yeah, I think so. It's the Olympics, everyone just makes everything look effortless, to be honest.
Mm.
And I can tell you, like, it's not. But you watch it and people make things look so easy, and I think that is the true sign of sort of the sporting greats.
Mm.
They've done hours and hours and hours of work, and their skill and everything is just fine-tuned that they make it look easy.
Yeah.
And then to the naked eye and to the normal public out there, you probably don't understand and appreciate quite how good they are and the people that you're watching and what they can do and how they make it look so effortless.
I mean, I've been hooked in on the rowing, and it's exactly that, isn't it? You watch the men's eight yesterday, they were gliding across the water, and it's only when they finish and they all collapse in a heap that you realise how much has gone into that because they make it look so, as you say, effortless. It's incredible.
Yeah. I like seeing when you look on Twitter and or X or places like that, and it's all these people saying, I could go and do that sport, and then 20 minutes later they watch a bit longer and then they come back to it and they're like, no, you just can't comprehend
No.
quite the level of what you're watching.
On an earlier show, I spoke about the fact I'd taken inspiration from Tom Pidcock on the mountain biking, which
She was
did end
running
up
people off the road, Ellie. She's been running people off.
it ended messily.
So, a couple of bits of housekeeping. One is we've got to apologise because we were meant to put our podcast out yesterday, and due to everyone being busy, Jugsy turning up late on the podcast, and other things as well, it didn't happen, and that's fine. And we talk about that Olympians make it look easy. I then went and played 2 games of hockey, and this podcast nearly got postponed because I couldn't walk up the flight of stairs to my office to record this one because I'm in a lot of pain now. The other bit of housekeeping we've got to do, Ellie, just to warn you, you can be docked points during this podcast. You can be docked points if you refer to international players or friends of yours within the Great Britain team by nickname. You get the silent bell. We do put in a sound effect, don't worry. You can also be docked points if you show flagrant national bias. So you sitting there going, yes, well,
Yeah.
we are going to go and do so well against the Netherlands or anything like that, you get docked points if you're talking about Great Britain in that way. However, a couple of other rules have come in, mainly because of Ava. One is gloating. You're not allowed to gloat. She basically said she was the referee's best friend. I'm trying to think what the other one was. Was there another one, Jugs?
Yeah, there is another one. It's trying to get your opponent's docked points.
That was our fault because
Yes.
we went just, like little schoolboys, little schoolgirls trying to suck up to the teacher in the playground, Kelly Hudson. And Eva wasn't there to defend herself, and she didn't get the points deducted. So you're apparently not allowed to do that. And also, Ellie, there are a couple of words or hockey phrases you're not allowed to say, but you're not being told those. So they only come off if you say them.
Okay.
Jugsy, here's them. She'll ding a bell, and the dream team will be deducted points. And what I will warn you of is the dream team are right back in the running. They started after a couple of podcasts 10 points behind. That's not the case anymore. So, Jugsy, blow your whistle, please, for the start of the warm up. It's the silent whistle. It's always useless. So there's been 3 days of action that we've missed so far. The 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of August. Loads has been going on. Ellie, for you, over those 3 days, and I know mainly, as you've already said, you've mainly been watching the Great Britain matches. We as a podcast, we're not looking to be biased towards Great Britain, but that's just part of your sort of scenario. What stood out within those matches for you?
I think from a women's perspective, the fact that we've grown into the tournament a little bit more, start to put out some performances and get some results that we can be a bit more proud of, which is good. I think some of the goals that have been scored in this tournament, men's side, women's side, as a forward, I've really enjoyed seeing. There's been some really class goals, and I just hope that continues. So yeah, my reflections.
Jugsy, the men's quarterfinals, of course, coming up today. We're recording on the day of the men's quarterfinals. No real surprises in who qualified, but were you surprised with any of the performances around it? Of course, Ireland got a win. South Africa played quite well. No surprises in terms of the 8 that qualified, the top 8 in the world. But did anyone stand out from you who didn't qualify?
Yeah, I mean, I think this has been true of both the previous World Cup and this Olympics. I would love to see South Africa make it through to a quarter-final because I think they play such attractive, such attacking and such flair-filled hockey. You know, I would love to see South Africa men progress because I think that it's a bit like Ireland a few years ago when they went on to become the bronze medalists at the World Cup. They got on a roll and they kept going, and I would love to see South Africa do that. And I think there will come a time. There'll come a time when they'll have a couple of shock results.
Can you ding your bell, please? Can you ding your bell? Because we're going to get complaints from the Irish otherwise. You talking about the 2018 World Cup there, Jugsy?
Yes.
Didn't they finish in silver?
No.
You said bronze. They finished second.
I
We're gonna have complaints. The green machine are going to be on to us.
My skills are just down.
Anne Flanagan will be getting in touch and the like. Sorry, Jugsy, carry on. Point deducted.
So yes, South Africa men, I would love to see them do well. I'd love to see France as well. You know, I mean, they're a European side that is probably playing at a time when European hockey is so very, very strong. So France are always going to be sort of playing catch up with the Belgians and the Germans and the GBs of this world. But again, flair hockey, great play. You know, they're really. I think men's hockey is in a really, really good state, if I'm honest, because I think that you know, even the teams that didn't make it really, really could have done on their day. So that's been a really, really good thing. And then if you look at the are we looking at the women's quarterfinal? No, we're not, are we? I'll shut up again.
No. But do what you were doing. Just throw around. Don't talk about the quarterfinals yet, but just throw around about the results. So I was going to next talk about Argentina, Australia 3-3. So if you
Yeah,
just come in and go, but talking about flair, the women's tournaments had
yeah,
it as well.
yeah,
Argentina 3-3, and we can talk. And I can bring in a line there because there's quite a nice line about Caitlin Nobbs, which I'll
yep. Okay, yeah.
Go on.
So yeah, so there are these teams that are really, really knocking at the door of getting into the sort of the playoff rounds in the future, and I can't wait to see them in action. Actually, I will say one thing. I really, really wrote New Zealand men off at the start of this tournament, to my shame, and I think they've also shown, that they've really been working hard and they put in some really solid performances. The one women's match that stuck out for me on the 1st of August was Argentina Australia. It was 3-3. That's thrown me an absolute curveball because I thought Argentina, that I put them on my podium ahead of Australia, and now I'm really not certain on the basis of that scoreline.
Well, we're going to come to the women's quarterfinals predictions later because I'm still sticking to my guns on this. I don't think they make it past the quarterfinals. Looking at the result against Great Britain yesterday, okay, they won 3-0. Great Britain had them rocked in the first half, and I think that's something that will be played on. Interesting one. You mentioned Australia, Argentina finished 3-3. Caitlin Nobbs has now scored 2 goals in the competition through the pool stages. There's a brilliant stat, and thank you to David John over in Australia who messaged me. She now has more goals than her gold medal winning mother, Lee Nobbs. And what was Lee Nobbs' only goal in the Olympic Games 1998? 1988, the gold medal winning goal. So Caitlin is going the right way. She's exceeded her mother in some ways, but can Australia go on and win gold? We have to wait and see. Now, a game that stood out for me yesterday was that Belgium-Germany result in the women's section. I know it doesn't necessarily winning the last game in your pool doesn't really necessarily get you anywhere in particular, especially when you're in the pool with a tough pool. But to beat Germany makes a statement before the quarterfinals. Ellie, you've played Belgium. You played them in Valencia. How far can this Belgian team go?
I think they can go quite a long way, to be honest. Um, how they've come on in the recent years has been quite crazy to see. As a competitor, it's great to see these other nations climbing and doing so well, and now actually sort of a forefront and one of the leading teams out there. They have the confidence and the belief as well. They honestly back themselves to go and do it. So yeah, I do think it's a bit of a watch this space and see what they can go and do. Because yeah.
Ellie, you said you've sort of them over the years. One of the observations that sort of keeps popping up in my head is that you spoke about their confidence. They have really, really sorted their minds out, haven't they? Their sporting minds. Because I remember a few years ago, if you put Belgium into a position where it was a crucial must-win game, inevitably they would fall at the very last hurdle. And actually, ironically, it was often against Spain, which is the team they're going to meet in the quarters. Now I don't feel that's the case, but it's still a lot of the same players. So they've obviously done an awful lot of work. How important? I mean, that's really important side of the whole preparation, isn't it? Getting your head in the right space for these matches.
Oh yeah, massively. I think at the top sport, sort of your head and the mindset can be the defining piece when you've got those small 1-2%. So yeah, they've got a lot of experience in that. There's been players who've been in that squad for a long time who've had those ups, those downs, those disappointments, but they've also got this sort of fresh new line who've come in and they don't have any of that almost baggage. They just have
Yeah.
this belief in these girls have learned from the past. They're taking steps forward. We've come in, we don't have any of that. We're just excited and we all back that we can go and do something special out there. And when you're near them and when you see them, they just give off this confidence of we're going to go out there and we're going to do something. So watch this and watch us.
Mm.
So
I mean, the goalie who's been around forever.
because I jumped in, so I thought I didn't think you'd come back. Say that again, because I'll
Sorry, I
crash.
was going to say, and their goalie, Aisling Dahoud, absolutely fantastic performance yesterday, I thought as well. Really, really bossed it at the back. Because Germany are no slouch in front of goal. I mean, they've got some fantastic strikers, but Belgium just, they held on.
And on Aisling, she made a debut at 2012 at the London Olympic Games at something like 18, didn't she? It
I
shows
think
how
she was younger than that. I think she was younger than 18.
it shows how much trust they had in her back then and how much potential talent, which has then, of course, been fulfilled. So if we briefly look at the scores, I'm going to look here just for the first 2 days. It'll flash up on the screen now. And the reason we're looking at the first 2 days was because this was the dream team predicted by Brendan Creed. The gap from top to bottom becoming 3 points. This is without Jugsy being docked points as she was earlier. We'll come to that at the end. Ava Dahuda as well is doing well to cling on at the moment because obviously missing podcast doesn't help. But Ava at the moment, 69 points so far, only 1 point docked overall. My team and Jugsy's team on 67 together. But this is how much Brendan caught his team up, caught the dream team up. They're now on 66 points. They are poised. Experience, knowledge, and severe weight of caps is doing them a favour. Now, if we then jump ahead, and again, the graphic will change to after yesterday, then it gets even more interesting because then we're down to a 2 point gap. And suddenly, guess who's bottom now? Me. I go bottom. Ellie got 10 points for the day. The dream team jump up to 76 points. I'm bottom on 77. Dahuda, Dejugsy. Sorry, I'm bottom on 75. Dahuda and Dejugsy are on 77 apiece. Now, that is assuming, of course, that Ava Dahuda remains on 77, doesn't get docked points. Jugsy, you have already been docked 1. So by the end of this podcast, you will go down to 76. You may even fall further if you fall foul of the bell. Right, Jugsy, blow your whistle. It's time for us to do the predictions part of the pod. The silent whistle never fails to amaze me. So, of course, it is time for Parisian Hockey Predictions, where we go through the predictions of the action. We give you our thoughts, and then we can see whether we're right or wrong, and we can score points off them. We're going to predict 2 days of action, days 9 and 10. Of course, the 4th of August, the men's quarterfinals, and then the 5th of August for the women's quarterfinals. Lots of fabulous action. Starting 9 a.m. this morning, we'll be lucky to get the podcast out in time. So it may look like we've made things up and pretended that we were getting results wrong, but we have recorded this currently 20 past 8 in the morning. Great Britain men versus India men. Ellie Rayer, what is the score going to be?
3-2 GB.
3-2 GB. Jugsy, I'm not going to tell you what what Ava Dahuda said so far. What's your score prediction?
3-2, India.
3-2 India. Now, I probably should have said this beforehand, but the last time India beat GB in regulation time was the quarterfinal of the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. Hardik scored, if I remember rightly. It was a fabulous game. Since then, Great Britain have won 3, and I think India have taken a shootout in the Pro League as well. Doesn't go down as a shootout victory. We all know that. I've said that a few times. So, Ava Dahuda has gone India 2, Great Britain 2. She's gone for an India shootout victory. I'm going India 2, Great Britain 2. But I'm going for a Great Britain shootout victory on this one. This has been for me, and I'm really interested to hear what you guys think. This has been the game I can't decide on. I've really struggled because I think the style of both teams suits both teams. It will be an open. When Great Britain didn't face Argentina, I actually thought they had more chance of making the semi-finals than facing Argentina because Argentina could have strangled the game. This is an open, flowing, probably high-scoring game. Ellie, how does that play? I'm not just talking from a Great Britain point of view here. For both teams, psychologically, in terms of game plan, how does that help?
I think you can go out there and just execute your game plan.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when you step out onto that stage and you're worried about what the opposition are going to do, you can almost step within yourselves and try and counteract and play against their game instead of just standing up and being like, we're going to play our game and it's going to be enough. Both of these teams can go out there knowing we can play our game and they'll both back themselves to win playing their style, which should be a really, really exciting open game of hockey.
Reigning champions Belgium are on next on the Yves de Manoir. against Spain. This is, of course, the men's quarterfinals. Ava de Huda has said that Belgium will win 3-1. Sarah Juggins, you're going 3-1 as well. I can tell by the way you are.
Yeah, I am. I'm just going to very, very quickly back up what I'm saying, though. I spent yesterday, I did text down and say this. I never look at stats. And I dived into the FIH data hub, which I've got to say is a fantastic resource.
Well
And
done,
I
Harry
spent,
Singh. Well done, Harry Singh. We have to say this
yeah,
credit where
yeah.
it's due.
And as I say, I hate stats, but I went all Moneyball on this, and I've actually looked at the stats for the men's quarterfinals, and I didn't do that for the women, so I'm going to be really interested to see whether the stats win. But Belgium, Spain, on the stats, it's got to be Belgium, so it's got to be 3. But I do think Spain, my gut, I'm going to put my gut in there as well, are going to score 1, so 3-1.
Ellie Rayer, agreeing, disagreeing?
I think it'll be a really exciting game, but I do think Belgium are going to edge it. But I'm going to go 2-1.
2-1 Belgium. Now, of course, the news is Alvaro Iglesias from the French game is out with a broken hand. Not a massive goal scorer, but important player for the Spanish team. And he does pop up with important goals. Scored a hat-trick in the Pro League earlier in the season out in India. I think based on losing the likes of him, I think it's going to be 3-2 to Belgium. I don't think it's going to be the walk in the park that Belgium would want. But I also think they're just about going to have enough. Spain in a quarter-final is always a difficult thing to face. Australia know that from the last World Cup. Right, Netherlands men against Australia men. Two teams I've said may well be stood on the podium from podium or nodium. Jugsy, I'll come to you first whilst I check that I've written down the correct score from Ava de Huda because I'm suddenly panicking. I've written it down on my score sheet wrong. Over to you, Jugsy.
Okay, so I've looked back at the stats, and if you look back historically, the last few times these teams have met, it's been so, one team's dominated, then the other team's dominated. But I think on current form and current way of playing and current mindset as they go into the match, it's going to be a 5-3 to the Netherlands.
Just before you answer, Ellie, 31 goals in the last 4 matches between these two teams. So Jugsy not wrong to say, would you say Jugsy 5-3?
5-3.
5-3 Netherlands. Ellie, where are you going on this one?
I was going to go for a draw. I was
What's
going to go a 4-4 draw.
4-4 draw? And okay, who wins the shootout? Because if you get that right, you get the bonus point.
Netherlands.
Netherlands take the shootout. Right, 4-4 draw. Netherlands take the shootout. I'm not sure Australian and Dutch heart rates will be able to cope. Right, on this one, I'm going to go 4-2 Netherlands. I can't see Australia beating them. I can see it being high scoring. I can't see Australia beating the Dutch at the moment. Think it'll be open, but I think that'll play into the Dutch hands as well. The big news, the massive news, and I'm severely worried about Ava de Huda returning from South Africa to the Netherlands when she next does. I think a border control person will tap her on the shoulder and ask her to wander this way. She again goes against the Dutch. She says Netherlands 1, and I had to double check what I was reading. Australia 3.
I've rung the bell, and I've rung the bell because I think Ava is working very, very hard not to have national bias.
So you think she's going the opposite of national bias? Too much.
Yeah, exactly. I think she's gone so far the other way, she's lost sight of where she is.
We're in for a fabulous day of hockey if this is the case. Right, Germany versus Argentina. They score at 4.63 goals per game, these two, in the last 11 years. World champions against 2016's Olympic champions, of course, finished third as well, if I remember rightly, in 2014, the World Cup Argentina. Who wins this one? Ava's gone 2-1 to the Germans.
I've gone 2-2, and I'm going to call on Chester, who is Pepper's replacement, to call the shootout. So give me 1 second.
Now, Ellie, just whilst Chester is gathered and his lead is got, I must tell the viewers, the listeners, I think the replacement of Peppa Pig is either inspired and great management skills or a little bit harsh because poor Peppa's been forced into a few choices on this podcast. Chester chooses. What's he got? He looks totally disinterested. Oh, he had
Come
to
on,
think
Chester.
about one.
Chester. Anything? Anything? Oh,
No, doesn't care.
no, he's
He's a
completely right. I
he's a
was so
rowing fan. He couldn't care less about the hockey.
he couldn't care less. He loves rowing. Right, I'm going Argentina win the shootout.
Argentina win the shootout. The world champions out at the quarterfinal stage. Wow. Well, I must admit, I think Chester's sacked.
Well, Pepper's coming back tomorrow.
Pepper
Isn't she?
predicts is back in. Ellie Rayer is wondering about her life choices. Ellie, she's thinking, what am I doing here? Ellie, for you, Germany, Argentina, what's the score going to be?
Germany win 3-2.
Germany win 3-2. Now, I popped up to London. I will show the clip of it on just after we've done this. Popped up to London to watch Germany's final pool game against Great Britain. Y1. The hockey company were putting on a fantastic event in the centre of London. There was over 100 hockey fans there. Germany, I thought, were good value, although I thought Great Britain actually started better. Christopher Ruhr's first goal, hitting a volley off the edge of the stick on the tomahawk, takes some doing. And you know, with Christopher Ruhr, the sad fact is he did mean to do it. I think they'll overcome Argentina here. I'm going 3-1 to Germany on this one. And I'm going to open up here. I'm going to admit something. Jugsy, you know, on Podium on Odium, I said the world champions would not medal at Paris. I'm thinking very, very differently now. And there was one person in my mind when I said podium or nodium, and I said nodium to Germany. It was Christopher Ruhr. And the reason was when I saw him in London and we had a conversation, the look on his face, I know Christopher well, he's a player I've interviewed a lot in my time. The look on his face when I asked him how he was just, he was completely distraught, I would say. Looking back now, I think that was concern he wasn't going to get selected for the Olympics. And I think since then, and since that confidence boost, he's just gone from strength to strength. And we're seeing it in his form. So I think Germany to overcome Argentina. And I'm going to go big here. I'm going to say Payet scores one of the important goals. Can you imagine scoring against your old team in the Olympics? Well, if he does, it could be very interesting. At this stage, I am going to show you that clip of me up in London. This was me going along to watch Great Britain versus Germany, hanging out with my friend Andy Reimer and loads of other people, including, look out for Jack Turner, international hockey player. Just look at the scenery here. Ready for Great Britain versus Germany. Andy, first prediction of the evening. What's the score going to be?
2-1 GB.
Well, I do a score prediction. I'm going to go 2-1 GB.
So guys, what do you think the score will be between Germany and Great Britain?
2-1 GB. Phil Roper and Rupert Shipley to score.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think GB will win, but what the score will be, I'm not sure. I reckon 2-2.
2-1 GB.
Okay, so moving on to the quarterfinals for the women's. The first one up is, well, we've got some fabulous ties, but the first one up is very, very intriguing indeed. Australia women, Trini Powell's team, against Alison Annan's China. Australia have won one game in 9 in the last 9 matches in regulation time. That goes back to 2021. Okay, so Australia have won one game in 9 in regulation time since 2021. They don't have to win it in regulation time here, Jugsy. It does, of course, go beyond that. Jugsy, what's the score going to be?
I really struggled with this one because my gut said Australia would win. The stats sort of lean towards China, and I'm going to go 2-3 to China, which is probably the biggest call I've made because my gut is still saying that's wrong, but 2-3 China.
Ellie Rayer, your score prediction?
Again, this is a really, really tricky one. I'm going to go 2-1 Australia, though.
2-1 Australia. Now, I'm just going to go back a sec. We said that Australia have only won 1 in 9 in regulation time. So, If you go to the shootout, Ellie, and you've been there, you've been at a shootout in a quarterfinal, Spain in 2021, 2020.
Yeah.
Maddie Hinch doing her heroics, etc. again. What does it feel like as a team going into a shootout?
From experience, if I think back to 2021, we were so prepared for it that you're there going, okay, this is just the next bit. We're going to go and get the job done now. And I think that's something that you can take a lot of confidence from. If you feel like you've done your prep and you've done your work, you go into that just feeling confident. It's always interesting, I guess, the swing of the game and how you end up in a shootout. Because isn't there a stat that's something like if you are the team that sort of take it to a shootout late on in the game, you normally then go on to win it.
I've not seen this stat. This is
There's,
brilliant.
there's a stat like that out there because the momentum is with you and you've got the belief. And for you, it's a win to get to a shootout, whereas the team who were in front obviously now have a
They've
shootout
lost
to go
their
to.
way
Yeah,
into a
they've lost.
shootout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've lost and ended up there. But yeah, I think generally when you get to shootout, you've done the work, you've done the hours, you put it in, and you just go into it going, well, this is what we've got to do now. And it's for some people, especially goalkeepers, who can step up and be the absolute hero. It really is a chance to shine, and probably sometimes gives them the deserve and the recognition that they deserve.
How much? I mean, how much time is spent in a regular sort of season preparing for shootout? Because it's like with taking penalties, like a footballer taking a penalty. They could spend an awful lot of time just crafting that one skill. It's quite a discrete skill, isn't it? So how much time is spent? How much time would a squad spend?
I think it probably very much depends the phase of the season you're in and where you're at. If we don't have a shootout looming on the horizon, which I guess with Pro League now, it's a lot more common. You could have it sort of whenever. You generally won't do it unless you're building for a tournament competition. And then it could be anything like in a game, instead of giving points for corners, you could just have to do a shootout there on the spot. You could just pull it in and we'll do a shootout competition at the end. So Dan's been on the sideline a couple of times when down at the Team GB, and we've played against sort of local men's sides and we do shootouts against them, because it's all well and good as well practicing shootouts, but you go against your keepers. They know what you do, you know what they do. So sometimes it can feel very, very forced and false almost. So trying to step outside of just the training group that you're in and doing them with wider people is quite good.
New Year's Eve was one of them, wasn't it? You did one on New Year's Eve. It was a horrific day weather-wise. It was throwing it down. And you went to you always do this against the men's teams locally, as you say. You went to a shootout, and from memory, you won that one fairly comfortably, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I think so. I think we had 8 people do the shootout, which obviously for the Marlow men at that time it was great because 8 of them got to step up and try and score past the GB keeper. And for us, it was brilliant because we had 8 people who were able to practice against a different goalkeeper who probably didn't really know what our go-to routines were, which was good.
So, Ava, to move on to the Australia-China game again, has gone 2-3. So that's 2, Australia 2, China 3 results. Now, where am I going? I haven't even thought about this one yet. I think it's going to be close. I think this is going to go to the shootout, 2-2, which is slightly why I brought it round to the shootout. I think China then take the shootout and go through to the semi-final. Imagine the scenes. I mean, they've invested, China, we're not hiding anything. They've invested serious amounts of money in a serious coaching team. Bringing AD Lock in at the back end of their campaign, absolutely inspired. They make a semi-final here, all that investment is validated.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because they brought a very, very wide internationally experienced team, like from all corners of the earth, coming into this team to give them that outlook, I think. And it's been really interesting seeing that team building together.
Argentina, Germany next. Argentina have won, was it 51% of their matches against Germany? So that's very, very, very close. Ava de Hooder's gone 2-2. The shootout going Argentina's way. Ellie, you played Argentina in December, if I remember rightly. You went out to Santiago del Estero. What's the score going to be for this one?
This one keeps changing in my mind because obviously the Argentina-Australia result the other day, but also the Belgium-Germany result they were both probably ones that I didn't really expect. Initially, I think I would have said Germany to win it. I still think I do back the Germans, but I think they're going to do it on a shootout. 2-2.
2-2 and Germany take the shootout. Wow. That again. We're in for 2 amazing days of hockey here. Jugsy, your score prediction?
Yeah, I had this down as 2-2 with Germany winning the shootout, and then I watched Belgium-Germany last night, and I've gone 3-2 Argentina.
3-2.
I'm that fickle.
Say that again, sorry.
I'm that fickle.
One performance and you're done.
Completely.
I've gone Argentina 1, Germany 2. I think knockout hockey, I think Valentin Altenberg will get his team where he needs them. He will probably have used that loss against Belgium to rile them, to fire them up, and we've seen that through the Pro League season. I think they'll get over the line on this one. Not sure about a semi-final. I think in the quarter-final they'll get over the line. Right. Netherlands, Great Britain. Ava de Hooder, got to be careful that she's not being biased towards her home country here. She's gone 4-1 the Netherlands. Don't forget, this is a team that from the last 3 matches are 19-1 on aggregate. And it's 11 wins to 1 since 2013. Great Britain have only scored 2 or more. Well, they haven't scored 2 or more since 2016 when they drew 3-3 in the Olympic final and went on to take it in a shootout. So I'm not trying to moneyball this in favour of the Netherlands, but the stats really don't lie here. Ellie Rayer's looking either annoyed at me or trying to rework out her score prediction. Ellie, go on.
I think, unfortunately, maybe I'm not unfortunate. I don't know if I'm being biased. Hard to say. I think the Netherlands are going to win
3-0.
3-0. That's definitely not national bias. If you'd have said GB were going to win 3-0, I'm a 6-1.
6-1.
Mm.
I think the Netherlands are going to win. I think one thing stands Great Britain in a lot better stead than had this not happened. I think it's the fact that Mim Pritchard went out to Argentina to face Argentina and the Netherlands last year. She played in one of the I think she got injured in one of the very heavy defeats you had. I think the fact Mim has played in that scenario, and I've actually been really impressed. I was over at Oxford Hawks Hockey Club yesterday. A lot of Oxford hockey people around, very, very proud of Mim Pritchard. I think she, despite some of the results here, there haven't been heavy losses. Okay, 3-0 yesterday against Argentina. I think that stands them in better stead than had Mim not toured there, and then what happened to Sabi happened to Sabi. I'm gonna go here 5-2. I think actually Great Britain hopefully will take, hopefully I've got to be careful there. Hopefully will take positivity. I know the bell's coming, Jugsy. The bell has to chime for that. We can't not. Yeah, it's got to. Okay, fair enough. But they played a lot better against Argentina. Fingers crossed they take a bit of that into the game, but I can't see the Dutch doing anything other than score a lot of goals.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
You know what I mean? I mean in terms of hockey being the winner. I can't believe that's not something you don't get a point taken off for, saying hockey's the winner. Right, I'm going 5-2. So everyone said the Netherlands are going to win. Everyone said it's going to be 3 goals or more. We wait to see. Right, last game of the day, or in tomorrow, in the quarterfinals, Belgian women, Belgian Red Panthers against Spain. Jugsy, I'll come to you first. I will tell you, Ava's gone 3-2 here in favour of Belgium.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone 4-2 Belgium, but I do go back to what I said about Belgium in the past have come up against Spain a lot of times in a lot of qualifying tournaments. I think Spain will cause some problems, but I think it'll be 4-2 Belgium.
4-2 to Belgium. Ellie Rayer.
I'm going to go Belgium 3-1.
3-1. Now, I will just remind you both that in Valencia at the Olympic qualifiers, this was the final. After Belgium beat Great Britain in the semi-final and Spain beat Ireland in their semi-final. It finished Belgium 2, Spain 1. So a very close game indeed. What have you all gone through? I've got the benefit of hindsight. I'm looking at everyone's scores and making a choice off there. I am going to go 1-1, Belgium take it in the shootout. I was going to go 3-1 Belgium. I changed my mind at the last minute. Jugsy, look.
If it goes to shootout, I put money on Spain, but there you go. I haven't gone for shootout.
Right, so that's the quarterfinals done. At this point, I'll just re-show how the scores stand overall so far, because we've got a few points to take off, which I need to work out what they are and how they stand. So this is how the scores are, of course, going into the quarterfinals. Right, Jugsy, blow your whistle, please, to end the prison hockey predictions. And blow it again, please, to start extra time. I love how silent that whistle is. So extra time is just looking back at the last few days of the Olympics as a whole. Now, Ellie, for you, you mentioned that you've watched a bit of the hockey, mainly the Great Britain games, obviously, because that's the team you play for. What other sports have really caught your eye during the event so far?
Everything. I've been glued to the TV, to be honest. Kayak cross, which started yesterday, is mental. Like the 2.5 meter drop into the water, and then the first obstacle to roll your boat under and then carry on. Like whoever invented that, genius. Crazy. I very much have enjoyed sort of the sprint finishes that we've had for Team GB. Like the women's quad, the men's 8, Tom Pidcock, Alex Yee. We've had some real last gasp, and then that just sort of encapsulates everyone, gets everyone excited. And then yeah, at the moment I must say, my friend from school, Amber Hill, or Amber Rutter now, she has put herself in a very good position in the women's skeet and is going for gold today. So there's lots I've been following, and now the athletics has started as well. That'll be on the screen 24/7.
So this is something that always comes up in your biog when I'm talking about you playing international hockey. You're a ex-athlete. You've actually said to me you've recently gone back to training in athletics just to do something different and sort of a change of mindset, as it were. So just go into detail for us. What level did you run at, and sort of how good were you as a runner?
When I was younger, hockey and athletics were always my two sports. Just going through my teenage years, and athletics, I was a bit of a multi-eventer when I was younger. So my claim to fame can be I was under 15 indoor national pentathlon champion.
Wow.
So that's on the realms of heptathlon, but I kind of obviously was a little bit too young to be doing it. And for the women, you don't do heptathlon indoors; it's always pentathlon. Hockey then took over, and then I went to sort of my multi-eventing days meant that I could still do all the events, but I just wasn't really training. But the hockey training meant that 400 hurdles kind of was my event, which bit of a man killer event, but love it. You've got 10 hurdles that you've got to get around, and only once you're over those 10 hurdles and you've got 35, 40 meters left of the race do you realize how much pain you're in. So yeah, they were my other events, and I was selected to run for Wales. I'm half English, half Welsh. But I got injured at an England under-21 tournament, so I couldn't run for Wales under-20. So that's the level I got to, and the story of it and how I get there. But yeah, if hockey hadn't worked out, I very much think I would have been doing athletics still. To what level that is, who knows? But I was, loved it when I was younger, and I think it's what's got me to where I am within hockey. So I owe an awful lot to the sport.
And there is also, I mean, there's a huge athletics masters scene for when you eventually move out of hockey. You could always go back and do that. Although, would you choose the 400 meters hurdles as your event? Because that
hard work.
For me, 400 meters. I was an 800 and 1500 meter runner, which you would have thought would have meant 400 was easy, but actually 400 is just a flat out sprint until you die, isn't it? Yeah. And then chuck some hurdles in there as well.
Yeah, I say I've been across the last 3 weeks. I've been down 3 times, and I went over hurdles for the first time in about 6 years on Wednesday. So I can still hurdle, which is good fun.
Brilliant.
Still
You
hurdle, still
tried?
just about got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't really walk the next day, but that's overrated. And after this, I'm going to go down again for another session. So we'll see what that holds.
But it's really interesting as well with what you've just said there, that clearly you've got the bug for it a bit. And in terms of your hockey going forward, having that freshness, having that, you saw your body language there as you said, after this, I'm going to go down again. You did this straight away. Isn't that really refreshing and really not nice is an awful word, but really refreshing that actually it might be the sort of thing that freshens you back up even more, and hopefully, GB might look at it and go, actually, Ellie's going to go and do an athletics session a week because she really enjoys it, and then when she comes back onto the hockey pitch, we've got a better athlete, and surely they have to look at it in that way. And I know they do look at it in that way, but we've become so sport centric because that's the sport you deliver, and that's the sport you're funded to deliver.
Yeah, I think so. It's for me, I've spent the last month going, I'm going to do everything I enjoy. And from a young age, I've enjoyed sport. And it doesn't matter what sport it is. Any sport I love, I will have a go at and I will probably enjoy it. So for me, it's been sort of stripping it back to basics and doing what I enjoy. Because
How much of it as well with the hockey?
Hmm.
Sorry, how much with the hockey? How much is it being part of a team? Because I was listening to an Andy Murray interview, and they were asking why he loved the Olympics so much, and he said it's because I'm actually able to be part of a team. Where, as we know, tennis is such a solitary sport in so many ways. Is it the opposite for you? It's like the hockey team is great, but actually your ability to get out on the athletics track and everything you do is about your performance and your performance alone. Is that sort of almost the reverse enjoyment factor there?
Yeah, I think so. I think when I was younger, I opted for hockey because of the team element, and I loved it more because I had everyone around me in that common goal. Whereas now, I think being able to actually step back and be like, okay, this is just me, individual, focus on that, has been really quite refreshing and quite nice, and probably something that, as an individual and moving forward in sort of my hockey career, I probably need to prioritize a little bit more. So it will probably be good lessons to teach and learn and take forward. So yeah.
Nice as well that Jugsy brought Andy Murray into it. Of course, he was at the hockey yesterday.
Yeah.
And after the hockey, he went to the gymnastics where my sister, who's out in Paris commentating on basketball, was. And she put on our family WhatsApp group a selfie of her and Andy Murray, which I think for her was probably one of the highlights of her trip to Paris as well. Right, Ellie, it's been brilliant to have you on. Fingers crossed those quarterfinal predictions help the dream team to even further success. Good luck with the athletics later on. I hope you enjoy the GB matches as much as you can. I hope you continue to enjoy the other sports in the Olympics. Jugsy, as ever, it's been a pleasure. We need to confer even over how many points Ava Dahuda is being docked for missing this podcast. We'll confirm that in the next one. Don't forget, follow us on social media on Instagram at Dahuda Strange Jugsy Pod. Put your predictions up with hashtag Parisian Hockey Predictions. We will be back with a podcast predicting the semi-finals. And then the plan at the moment is to do a podcast per day for the finals. We might even do like a watch along type thing. We're throwing the idea around, aren't we, Jugsy?
Yeah, we're trying not to overpromise here, but yeah, that's that's
There's conversations ongoing that we might get some of the dream team on with the hosts and literally just sit and watch the game and talk rubbish about it, which will be good fun. Right, guys, for now, though, from podcast 5 of Dahuda, Strange and Jugsy, it's goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.